ECU?
Do you bleed purple and gold?
Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It's a new week. East Carolina fresh off a 56-3 victory over the Campbell Fighting Camels. ECU was favored big going into the game, and they won big. They did exactly what they needed to do. We will get into all of the specifics, all of the big takeaways. It is a reaction Monday. Pirates are 1-1. They'll go to Coastal Carolina this coming Saturday to continue the non-conference portion of their schedule. We're waiting on the ECU BYU game time that should hopefully be announced here this early afternoon, so we'll keep you updated on that as well, as that news expected here shortly. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you have a question, comment, concern, drop it there. As always, download the podcast version of the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify as well, and download the IBX Media app. For all of Hoist the Colors, the Patrick Johnson Show, Inside Pirate Athletics, Talk of the Town, the Logan Zone, and more. NFL Week 1, almost completely in the books. East Carolina in the NFL front, which we'll get to in a little bit. Jaquan McMillan had a big strip sack as well. So we'll probably talk some NFL with Philip Pilkington. Although we're going to have to talk about the Panthers, which he does not want to do. Although we're going to make him do it. So a lot to get to. We're always taking your comments, plenty to react to. I've never seen quite this many players on a participation chart as well. Philip, how was your football weekend?
It was solid. Wish the Panthers would have played a little better. That part was frustrating, of course. Happy to see ECU look better. I think there were still some things they need to improve on. We'll talk about that. But, hey, third largest win in team history, and are tied for the third largest win. They did win a game 76-0. Any idea who that was against, Stephen Igo?
Somebody sent me a post about Newport News.
Yeah.
Is that who it was against?
Newport News, 76-0. And it was, 74-0.
Yeah.
It was on November 14th, 1959.
Newport News had a football team.
Yeah.
And I don't really know. I was not around. It was not even a thought in 1959. But I would venture to say that even Campbell would take care of Newport News if they played football. So,
yeah.
But still, look, I mean, I think 44, 45 different defensive players saw action during the game. Offensively, the Pirates played in the mid-30s. This isn't even counting special teams. You know, Pro Football Focus, which does an unbelievable job, had problems keeping chart of the game, Philip, because Chaston Ditta is listed number 9. He goes in, he's wearing number 17. So PFF grades it as Johnny Williams, the true freshman receiver, was playing quarterback. ECU played 2 number 27s on defense at separate times. Obviously, they couldn't be on the field at the same time, so they had problems with that. It was just, 15 receivers caught a pass. Malcolm Gray has the notes on that, the last time that was done. 4 running backs scored. I think 7 or 8 different skill guys scored. It was just a party for everybody that was in an ECU uniform.
It was. And, yeah, I was not envying PFF. I was not envying Tom McClellan, who has to be in charge of just everyone who checks into the game in general. We were actually kind of trying to figure it out in the booth. So when Mike Wright came out, we see another quarterback go in, and we're like, okay, 17. We're like, okay, well, we don't have a 17 listed as a quarterback. So Kevin looks at me and goes, process of elimination. I said, it's either Cole Hodge or Chaston Ditta. I know that it's one of those two. But we don't know for sure. And then luckily Jim had his binoculars and was able to look at the last name on the back of the uniform, and we were able to figure out it was Chaston Ditta. I said I would guess Chaston Ditta over Cole Hodge just because a little bit we could see at practice. It looks like Ditta's a little ahead, but we didn't know for sure. So it was, I don't know. Like I said, do not envy those people, but we thank them for the jobs that they do. And it was hard enough. Jim usually has everybody memorized. He knows the 2 deep. He pretty much knows the 3 deep. He was having to look at rosters the other night to get some of these names.
even as somebody in my shoes that covers all the recruiting, I mean, I tried the best to keep up the walk-ons and the scout team. Even that was a struggle for me at times. But look, awesome opportunity for all those players who saw the game or saw action in the game. ECU outgains Campbell 535 to 151. They went 13 of 14 on third downs when Caden Hauser was in at quarterback. And so, you look, ECU, they dominated. I don't know, Campbell, if they're going to be any good at the FCS level. Obviously, they competed well with Rhode Island in the opener, but I'm just glad they went out there, stepped on the throat early, and outside of that 119-play drive, they couldn't get off the field that Campbell got a field goal on. ECU looked like the superior team throughout the game. Caden Hauser, I wrote post-game, another masterclass of sorts. Again, competition, you have to keep it in mind, but 25 of 35, 314 yards, 2 touchdown passes. And the big thing, Phillip, no turnovers through 2 games. And I don't care who you're playing. Decision-making is decision-making. Turnovers are turnovers. ECU, 2 games without a turnover, 2 games without a turnover-worthy play for Caden Hauser as far as throwing the football is pretty impressive.
It really is because, I know, like you said, a lot of people are going to say it's lesser competition. Well, I will say on the edges, the lesser competition is closer than it is in the trenches. Also, it's still a college football game, and it's still a college football-paced game. And like you said, the decision-makings, and then also just not having one get away from you. It doesn't matter unless the guy out there covering the wide receiver is Stephen Igo or Philip Pilkington, and we're so darn slow, the receiver's open by 15, 20 yards. Like, these guys still are fast defensive backs that are still going to have decent coverage 98% of the time. And, you could still have one sail on you, and there could be a ball hawking free safety just kind of hanging out there playing center field. That hasn't happened with Caden Hauser yet. So that is a very impressive stat through 2 games.
Brock Spalding continues to shine at receiver. He had 3 targets. He once again had 3 catches. He has had 9 targets through 2 games, and he has 9 catches. That is efficiency. He goes for 3 catches, 81 yards. His first career touchdown. Also had 49 yards after the catch as well. Yannick Smith and Anthony Smith. The most encouraging thing for me, Phillip, is the Smiths are just, they're making the routine play right now. Yannick's making some contested catches, but we have not even seen the explosive play come into form for Anthony nor Yannick. We know Anthony can 100% do it. We know Yannick can go get it at the top, high point the football. For Caden Hauser to be throwing for 300-plus yards without those explosive plays from arguably his 2 best weapons, to me, is highly encouraging going forward because that's going to come at some point.
It is, and I think John David Baker is going to open up the playbook when he has to open up the playbook. I thought the pass concepts were very vanilla on Saturday, and that was because they were not wanting to put anything on film for Coastal Carolina or any other future opponents. And when you have vanilla play calling and vanilla route combinations, you're going to have a lot of the passes that we saw, quick slants. There was a lot of 5-yard hitches, 10-yard curls, little basic dig routes, just things that are meant to slowly move the ball down the field. And when you're a wide receiver and you're getting thrown those, a lot of times you don't have the opportunity to show off your skill set. That is something that I'm not going to say everybody can do, but everybody who's qualified to play at level whatever, this being the FBS level, would be able to do. But there's a difference in being able qualified to be able to do something and being a superstar. And I think both these young men have the opportunity to be superstars, and I think we're going to start seeing that this week. Well, actually, I hope we don't see that this week. I hope that East Carolina can go out there, play to their full potential, and if they do, they won't have to make any superstar plays to go out there and hopefully win this game by 2 or 3 scores, and then we can really show it against BYU and hopefully have nothing on film for the Cougars to see, especially with them having an off week coming up.
Defensively, it was good to see so many players play. I was specifically keeping an eye on the safety position on the first, 3rd, and long of the game. They insert 2 new safeties, Kamari McKinley and also Aiden Duncanson, the backup safeties, to get them some time. We know Tegan Wilkin and Jamarly Riddle. We know what they can do. So it was good to see the other safeties get some time. Again, a ton of players played. It was good to see Josiah Robinson got a strip sack. He's been through multiple major injuries, so he's a really talented player, along with J.D. Lampley at defensive end. I thought, once again, the defensive tackles looked good. I thought Kendrick DeJour looked good at outside linebacker. And so, look, just a solid all-around game for both sides of the ball. Special teams was solid as well. We saw Noah Perez and Andrew Conrad kick PATs. There's a lot to digest on Mondays now, Philip, because when we used to do this show, the Reaction Monday show, it was just, all right, we're 100% reacting to the game. Then we would have, the press conference either Monday afternoon or Tuesday. Now, not only were we reacting to the game, but we also talked to Blake Harrell and players for our entire media availability for the upcoming game by the time we do this show on Monday. So if that makes any sense to the listener, we're already looking ahead to Coastal in the press conference, and we're recapping this game, and that's our only media availability for any ECU football players or coaches the entire week. So we did ask today about the kicking situation, and Coach Harrell basically said Nick Mazey is a little fatigued in his leg right now, it sounds like, not hitting the ball with enough or quite as much juice as he has been, so that's why we saw Conrad and Perez. So that sounds like it'll be an open competition. You asked about Chasten Ditta. I know that's been brought up in the chat, which continue to drop those comments, guys. We'll get to those in our next segment. Chasten Ditta looks like, to me, the third-string quarterback right now. And because, why else would he get those reps over Raheem Jeter? And from what I understand, he's the quarterback who can run the offense the most like Caden right now.
Yeah, and Blake did kind of allude to that he reminds him a lot of Caden. The tough thing, though, is with these situations is, Raheem's already used that year of eligibility, or that redshirt year, whereas Chasten can redshirt this year. So you would ideally not like to see Chasten in more than 5 games. Not that I do think that is going to happen, but he looked like a very competent college quarterback. And now I was hoping to actually see Raheem in the game, because if something were to happen to Caden Hauser, we know we can trust Mike Wright, but also he's kind of a different style quarterback. So I would like to see some of Raheem, because we've been told that he's improved so much this offseason. I'd like to see it in a game. But going back to Ditta, man, that touchdown throw was an NFL caliber throw. You're going a goal line fade with a defender draped all over your wide receiver, and you throw it back shoulder where only your guy can get it. Now, it was an NFL caliber catch as well.
Great catch, yeah.
Yeah, but that looked like a guy that you can hand the keys to the franchise to, or to the university to, here in the coming years. That was just an amazing throw.
Are you ready to say Chasten Ditta, future NFL draft pick?
I don't know if I go that far, but I will say, look, I guess I can come out and say this, what I've seen at practice. I have, I've told it to you, talked about it with Chance. I do think the next starting quarterback of the East Carolina Pirates after Caden Hauser leaves is going to be Chasten Ditta.
Here's the thing about Chasten Ditta. If you don't follow recruiting, you probably don't know who this guy is, but he played at Lake Travis High School in Austin, Texas, which is a powerhouse program. Has produced a lot of significant talent at quarterback over the years. And he didn't really start playing quarterback until his junior year of varsity, so he was a late recruit. JDB has ties to Texas. That's how ECU got him. He's not the biggest guy in the world, just 6 foot, but well put together, throws a good ball, as we saw. So I think that the future is very bright for Chasten Ditta, although hopefully ECU, like you said, can keep that red shirt on him and develop him while getting him some game action this season. All right, so we got some comments about tight ends as well. Graham Till says, interesting that we lined up a tight end in the backfield to lead block this game. Did they see what I saw versus NC State? Can our tight ends physically block better in a week because we looked a lot better finally running behind them, or was it just because it was Campbell? Graham says, and then Johnny Robertson said, how about Mason Brown getting the start, showing his blocking skills? He had a 76.6 pass blocking grade. So I'll say this, he had a good pass pro grade, run blocking grade per PFF, and again, I'm always skeptical of some of this PFF stuff. They grade tight ends on a pretty hard scale. His run blocking grades weren't great, but I thought he did a good job of at least getting on a hat and making some way in the run game. I don't know how much we're going to see of this going forward, 12 personnel, but at least, if nothing else, Philip, it gives something else for every team to prepare for, especially Coastal Carolina this week.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You don't have a fullback on the roster like you used to. And I'm not saying they're going to run, 21 personnel a lot, but you kind of wonder when it comes to a guy like Mason Taylor. That's his name, right?
Mason Brown.
Mason Brown.
You called him Mason Taylor in the press conference as well.
Did I really?
Yes.
I don't know why I did that. Who was the other tight end that got in?
There was a Miles Parker as well.
Yeah, he got in pretty early too, right? Somebody got in early in the second quarter.
Mason Taylor is a NFL tight end for the Jets. So
that's what it is. He's on my feet. You know why? Because I took him with a late round pick in my rookie draft in my dynasty league. That's what it is.
I think you just call him Mason Taylor the whole year.
I was going to go with it. But yeah, so when you get a guy like Mason Brown in there, though, I'm not saying, like I said, that he's going to become our starting fullback quasi, but we've talked about it on this show. You've kind of got two guys that you trust as pass catchers, as playmakers, and I think that some of these other guys we've been told are more blocking tight ends. And I think that John David Baker is willing to put these guys in different situations in which he feels like they can be successful, whether that's a true fullback spot, whether that's kind of in the backfield behind the tackle on an H-back spot, or whether that is on the end of the line of scrimmage as a sixth offensive lineman. And look, they have some hard-nosed blue-collar guys in that locker, in that tight end room. And it's probably going to be mostly JC and DeCirio throughout the season, but don't be surprised when one of these young men get in the game because they do a lot of physical things at practice and demand a lot out of this tight end room.
Aaron saying finally seeing the tight end usage is nice. Javonte Connor needs a lot of targets. Yes, he is making plays at receiver. DeCirio Riles, Lane asking, did one of the tight ends get hurt? So DeCirio Riles did exit the game in the first quarter. He caught the touchdown pass on the opening drive. By the way, excellent design play. They had the running back leaking out for the wheel route. The defender went with him, and then Riles kind of leaked underneath and was left wide open. I thought that was an awesome play and led to an easy touchdown for Caton and company. But Riles left with looked like a foot ankle injury. I don't know exactly what it was. He was at practice today. He looked like he was limited, but he was out there in gear, jogging around and doing some stuff off to the side. So we'll keep an eye on DeCirio. Doesn't like anything super serious, but something to keep an eye on going forward. If you have to hold him out this week, maybe you do, and then try to get him back for BYU. But either way, Pirates' tight end room looks pretty explosive, especially at the top. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back, continue on answering your questions, also addressing your comments. Got a lot of those in the chat. Keep those coming, and we'll continue to bounce off what you guys want to discuss. This is Hoist the Colors on a Reaction Monday.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Reaction Monday, East Carolina beats Campbell 56-3. Pirates covered the 29.5 point spread with a relatively easy victory inside Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. We're reacting to that. We also will talk some NFL, some college football as well at some point, although we're still addressing the chat, and you guys have many quality things asking about there, so we'll get into some of that. All right, Rohan is asking / commenting, top 3 backs just look good, not great. Any chance one of the younger backs gets some touches to shake things up? So, I mean, here's the thing. There are so many elements to the running game. It is hard to tell what are the issues. Fundamentally, you would assume run blocking by your offensive line, but as we just talked about, your tight ends are also involved in that. Your receivers are involved in that. The decision to hand the ball off on an RPO is involved in that. The cut you make as a running back, the hole you hit, breaking a tackle, all these things go into the running game being successful. And if you look at the stats at the end of the game, ECU ran for 172 yards. They averaged 4.6 yards per carry, which is solid, but not maybe what you were hoping for against Campbell necessarily. The run blocking, according to Pro Football Focus, was below average upon all 22 film grade review. Now, it was an improvement. So for those that don't follow PFF, they grade things 0 to 100. They don't know the individual play assignments, so again, it's not 100% accurate, but more times than not, if you win a block at the point of attack, you're going to get a positive grade. If you lose, negative. In the opener against NC State, the run blocking grade was 39.5 on a scale of 0 to 100. That's well below average. 60 is considered replacement level / average. 57.1 was the run blocking grade versus Campbell. An improvement, but maybe not where you want to see it. Again, Philip, some of this, we were talking to our break, Philip Pilkington, some of this is you've got, at the end of the game, guys, true freshmen who really, in any other scenario, would not see the field. You have to count that in. The biggest improvement I saw was I didn't see any real negative nor no gain runs for the most part. It felt like everything was 3 to 5 yards. They just didn't hit many explosives in the ground game, which, is that on the back, is that on the line? I don't know. There's just a lot of moving parts here to digest.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch the film and, to make a full argument here. However, I didn't feel like still the offensive line did a great job getting to the next level. I'm not saying they were just whiffing at the next level and there was no, nothing there, but I felt like they won the point of attack, especially like you mentioned earlier. I think it might have been off the air. That nose tackle has some size to him, and I think they did a decent job with him. But, is there some times running backs are maybe not patient enough or maybe missing holes? Yeah, I think so. But also sometimes, man, when you just run inside run period at practice, you're seeing the same defensive alignment all the time. You're not used to seeing anything else. And run blocking is one of those things that, especially with how complex it is nowadays, it takes a lot longer for teams to be able to do it and guys to be able to work together, especially when you're at East Carolina because you run a lot of inside zone. And even though inside zone is the same blocking scheme, play in and play out a lot of times, it's a lot of double teams followed by who gets off the double team block, when do they do it, who do they take at the next level. Whereas old school football, there was a little more gap scheme. It was the exact same thing every time, regardless really of what front you were seeing. You ran a lot more trap plays, counter plays, things like that. So, this is still a young offensive line, hasn't played a lot together. Backs who haven't really ran behind these guys yet. So was it a little disappointing? Yes, but I'm not really ready to put new guys in because I almost wonder if that would kind of restart us back at square one.
Yeah, I am. We saw this offensive line really come along as last season went on. Like the first 6-7 games were underwhelming. I think they'll continue to improve this year as well. I don't know if they have the personnel to be, as good as they were at the end of last season by the end of this season. Time will tell. But I do wonder, I'm just not seeing the same initial push, like Philip said, into the second level on the interior. Maybe they try to go to some more outside run game, which, you do have to be good at tackle, and you have to be athletic up front to execute outside zone on a pretty consistent basis, and you can't overhaul your run schemes mid-season. But I do wonder, maybe they just try to pop 1-2 of those a game a little bit more often, especially with London, Montgomery, Parker, Jenkins having some speed. What do you think from the backs right now, Philip? Are you liking what you're seeing? I still think it's tough to evaluate just because we haven't seen these guys in open space a lot. I do think London and Parker are still your best backs, but we just, again, if there's not a ton of room to operate, it's tough to make maybe a fair evaluation. Going back to Rohan's initial point.
Yeah, I think it's a little early, kind of like I said earlier. And the other thing, too, is this team's throwing the ball a lot. They're throwing it successfully, and sometimes it just seems like there's not been a lot of opportunity for the running backs and the offensive line to get into a groove together. And I think that might be a little bit by design this early in the season. You were kind of wanting to, I hate to use the word or the phrase run up the score, but get it to a position last week where you could get more of those guys in. As you mentioned, over 80 players got into the football game. That's something that's not even legal in conference play. You can only even dress 70. So I think that had a little bit to do with it, and I think they will stick to the run a little more when opportunities present themselves where they feel like they're running the ball successfully, unlike they were the first week, and they're just trying to slowly march down the field. And I think we'll see more of that this week. So, yeah, I'm not really, like I said, ready to pull the plug on the running backs yet. Let's just see how this week goes. And, look, could a guy be different at practice than he is in a game? Could a guy maybe not show out as well in practice and shows out better in a game? Sure. But at the end of the day, these guys went through the spring as the starters, have gone through all of camp as the starters. There's a reason they've earned these starting jobs, and it's pretty impressive. You got 3 guys the coaches really feel like have earned that opportunity to be out there and be every down backs.
And we saw Marlon Gunn still has the dance moves, which is fun to see, as he has now found the end zone 2 consecutive weeks. Graham adding, I'll take a 4.6 yards run average per game by committee the rest of the season. We don't have a real home run guy in the room, but I like Montgomery when we need a solid run. I think London Montgomery can hit a home run. I just don't think he's had the chance to. Now, does he have Keaton Mitchell speed? No, but who has Keaton Mitchell speed? By the way, Keaton Mitchell inactive for the Ravens last night. That's kind of crazy.
That was, but it made me hit my under that I took. So
there you go. Well, that works pretty good for you. All right, so although no money was won.
No, it was just against you and Bobby, I think.
That's fine. So it's not as impressive as it sounds. If you're just beating me and Bobby, that's not that impressive, Philip, but we're proud of you, man. All right, some more comments before we get a break in. Kenny Curlins, the defense has been a nice surprise so far. Anytime you can hold another team to 151 yards on total offense and only 4 yards rushing, that's pretty dang good. We talked to J.D. Lampley this morning after the press conference, and I was curious his take. Like we talked about all offseason, man, just the defensive questions, the defensive line. And I don't want to act like they've arrived because they still have things to prove, still have more tests ahead. But based on how NC State ran the ball against Virginia and moved the ball against Virginia, I think you feel that much better about the defense. You could, of course, say the reverse of that for ECU's offense with the way Virginia moved the ball in the Wolfpack. But regardless, this defense, I still don't think they have like many standout players, Philip, but I think as a unit right now, they're executing at a pretty high level.
Yeah, and, do you want a standout player? Yes, it's nice to have a game changer. But at the end of the day on defense, if they don't go to your game, near your game changer, he can only do so much. You got to be good as a collective unit. In a conference like this, solid collective units have been and are continuing to be hard to come by. And I think this can be one of the more consistent defenses in college or in the American Conference. Yeah, you may not have as many game-changing, momentum-changing plays, which, is a little unfortunate, but also, we haven't really seen them be able to go after the passer. Like we want to. A lot of screens this past week.
Dude, the tunnel screen, they were spamming that, goodness. Man. What was that all about?
I don't know. That can be our next conversation. But and then, that first week they were very much in contain mode on C.J. Bailey. So I think J.D. Lampley and when they bring Raheem Craig into rush and some guys like that, I think are going to have opportunities to maybe go be that game changer when it comes to sacking the quarterback, and that will open up more opportunities for plays on the back end when the quarterback is under duress. So it'll be interesting to see this week, but also this week it kind of can come down to who's at quarterback, because they do have a guy who's a little bit more mobile, maybe not as quick and as athletic as C.J. Bailey, but they do have that 2 quarterback set and a guy who's pretty quick back there. So when we finally get a true pocket passer, I think the Bachmeier kid. So next week we get a true pocket passer.
Too. I don't know, man.
I mean, he's an athlete and can run.
He's like a fullback almost.
Yeah, he's a little faster than his brother. By the time we get to Tulane and Retzloff's playing quarterback, maybe we'll figure this out. I don't know. So call me in whatever week that is, week 5. 6,
call us in week 5.
6.
Yep.
It's week 6.
Although Retzloff had like a 79-yard touchdown run. I mean,
he can take off, but it's not like
he's a pocket guy.
Yeah, he's a pocket guy. Gosh, we'll be halfway through the season when we play this.
This is, I think, college football in general now is just everybody can run at the quarterback position. It's very rare you get a statue at quarterback. All right, we got to get a break in. We're getting some questions on the BYU game time. We still have not gotten an official announcement there. And so we're waiting on that. Should be sometime this afternoon if all goes according to plan as far as the announcement. So we'll hit on that. We'll hit on more things. People want to know what is Coastal Carolina? Why are they so bad? So we can look into that briefly and a whole lot more on the other side. This is Hoist the Colors Reaction Monday.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt & Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt & Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Get ready to board.
We're live with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game. Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, East Carolina and Coastal Carolina this coming Saturday. We're reacting to ECU beating Campbell 56-3. We just had Blake Harrell's press conference this morning. We talked to J.D. Lampley as well as Marlon Gunn Jr. Marlon Gunn is on the ECU depth chart this week, as is J.D. Lampley. Not on the ECU depth chart this week is Eddie Love, who just announced WITN had the story. ECU football freshman running back was arrested over the weekend for breaking and entering vehicles. 18-year-old broke into a Ford Explorer and Hyundai Elantra, then ran from police, gave them a fake name before eventually being caught. So he is no longer a member of the team, per an ECU spokesman from WITN, and recently was released from jail. So, look, Eddie Love, if you follow recruiting, again, really talented player out of Florida, attended Niceville High School. Most recently also was at Fort Walton Beach at one point in time. The highest rated recruit in this year's class, so not ideal. But unfortunate, Philip. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to add. Just young man making a poor decision and a costly one.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but hey, play silly games, win silly prizes, right?
Yep.
Don't break into cars, and you should be good.
Yeah, and it sounds, I mean, if he was going around with latex gloves, as the report states, this was, something that he was planning out, and it's not like he just happened upon a car that was unlocked. There was a time, I think it was early Mike Houston, when Jawan Powell and Devontae Harris were breaking into cars then. Got in trouble, ended up coming back on the team later that year after serving like a half-season suspension. But it looks like Eddie Love is gone, and the ECU running back room is deep. I don't think Eddie Love is going to play this season as it was. He, I think, did have a bright future if he would have stayed on the field, but he will have to do that someplace else if he's able to latch on elsewhere. Terry Long says, is it a worry that he got caught? I thought he was real fast. So that's a pretty good line there for maybe his next home. All right. People still want to know about BYU. So I'm just going to say this is far from official, so don't quote me on this. I've just heard talk of a potential night game for BYU, but again, nothing there. So we have not gotten an official announcement. Ryan wants to know what time would I personally want for BYU. So I personally, without taking any of you into account, I would want a noon game, because that means I can get it done, have all Saturday to write, watch football. These night games from a media perspective aren't ideal. But if I could come up with a happy medium, I would say mid-afternoon, like a 3:34 start is ideal. It's also a really good time for recruiting. It's supposed to be a huge recruiting day for ECU, some official visits, which is important as well. So you want those times, that time later in the day for those guys to get in, for the recruits to come in. So I would say mid-afternoon, but personally I would take a noon game. I enjoy a noon game, man. We have too many night games this year, Philip.
Well, it's just nice for us when we get off work to have some time to still go watch college football. I think that's part of it. Like, we work at 6. Like, I think I watched like 1 hour of games before I left the other day, and then by the time I got home, like, most games were over. Like, sometimes, and I know we can't complain that we get paid to watch games. I know, like, a lot of people wish they were in our shoes, but sometimes it's nice just to be able to watch games. And I feel like when we get the noon kick, by the time we get done with all of our stuff, we can watch the end of the 3:30 games, kind of enjoy the night games. So that's part of it. And also, like, setting up all of our equipment out there, it's nice to do it when it's kind of cool in the mornings as opposed to just like the dead heat of the day. Like, we were pretty toasty the other day.
Yeah,
especially like when you're trying to keep the equipment cool, because it can overheat. And we have had years we've been kicked off the air because the equipment overheated. So, I mean, it is an actual problem.
East Carolina, BYU, again, waiting on that for the official announcement. All right, a lot of talk about why is Coastal Carolina so bad. Robert adds Coastal defense on the season, 2 sacks, 1 interception, 0 fumbles forced recovered. Coastal Carolina, Tim Beck is in his 3rd year there. It is interesting because you look at Tim Beck, his history. He was obviously the OC at NC State. He was the OC at Texas, has been the co-OC at Ohio State, Nebraska. He brought in a air raid guy, Mike Leach's disciple, Drew Hollinshead, I believe is his name, last year. And so they run a lot of those concepts, but I don't know if they quite have the quarterback for it. MJ Morris, former NC State transfer under Tim Beck. He once played with the Wolfpack when Tim Beck was calling the plays. So he was kind of seen as the potential guy, and he threw 3 picks against Charleston Southern. After really struggling there, he got benched for Tad Hudson, former North Carolina transfer. So they have a North Carolina and a North Carolina State transfer in their quarterback room. Tad Hudson ended up finishing the game against Charleston Southern. They won 13-0. I will say their defensive coordinator hire, I was a big fan of that one on paper. He did a really good job at Louisiana Tech last season, and they ended up bringing him in. They're running this 3 safety look, which is becoming a little bit more common in college football now. Jeremiah Johnson is his name. It gives you an extra hat on the back end and also another body to come fit in the run game. And, we talked about it with Marlon Gunn today at the press conference. It's more of what you saw versus ODU last year, where you're going to see 3 safeties back. Gives you a little more versatility. So that'll be something a little bit different ECU has to deal with. And, we'll see how the Pirates combat that going into the game. But you got a new coordinator on defense, quarterback issues on offense. They have been crushed by the transfer portal the last couple of years as well. And so I think Coastal, very much like a lot of teams early in the season, is trying to find its footing. And we'll get more into the Chanticleers as we move forward in the week. But I'll say this as well. I have seen enough ECU sports, doesn't matter, football, baseball, basketball, to know that ECU is 100% going to get Coastal's best shot on Saturday at 7:30. This is a big game for their program, getting East Carolina home. And if the Pirates don't show up, they will lose this game. I don't care how bad Coastal Carolina's look. If they go down there and turn the football over, mess around on the road, you could easily find yourself in a dogfight and could lose this game. Now, if they show up and play to execute at a high level, I could see them winning by multiple scores. So, a lot to play out, but I do expect Coastal to look better this Saturday. A little more time, maybe a quarterback change, but it's just one of those things, Philip. I think ECU's clearly the better team, and now they just have to go down there and execute it on the field.
Yeah, I think so. And I feel like you're kind of getting this at a good time, right? You played your Power 5 opponent. You played your FCS opponent. Now go out there and play a Group of 5 team that you're a little better than, right? You should win. But if you beat Coastal, you're beating a team that is equal in talent to a lot of the teams on the back of your conference schedule and a lot of teams that honestly are the bulk of your conference schedule. This is where you can really kind of measure yourself. This is where you can clean up the things that you need to clean up from week 1 and week 2 and put yourself in a position to feel good moving forward. Yes, it's going to be a little tough for the next 2 weeks with Army and BYU, but when you go up against Tulane, now when you see Coastal, they're not as talented as Tulane, but you're seeing that, hey, this is a normal offense and defense, unlike Army. You're not going to be just totally undersized up front like you will against BYU. So I think it's coming at a good time. Like you said, you should win the football game. It is a little bit of an interesting defense when you run that 3 high safety look. It kind of allows you to do some different things that are not traditional. You can run 3 high and still have the corners and the flats, very much like a Tampa 2 defense. However, now the guy in the middle of that Tampa 2 is a safety, not a middle linebacker. So it does some things, but it allows some things underneath. And we talked about the run game earlier. Well, this is a team that only puts 6 guys in the box a lot of times, unless it's an obvious running situation. So if you have a 6 guy in the box opportunity, this will be a time where as long as you have a tight end in blocking, you can have equal numbers there. And this will be a week where you have an opportunity to maybe break out some of those long runs and force safeties to make tackles on the back end, 8, 10, 12 yards down the field.
Kenny Curlin says he's not falling for Coastal Carolina being that bad yet. We all thought Charlotte was terrible, and that didn't work out for us. Focus, please, and keep this thing rolling. If that should serve as a good reminder. Regional opponent that ECU probably feels is better than, at least the fans. I think the team will be focused. I think Blake Carroll will have the guys ready, but we'll find out for sure Saturday night. Johnny's stats coming through. Johnny Robertson says MJ Morris has completed 33 passes. 17 of them were thrown behind the line. 27 of them 9 yards or less. He is 2 for 11 on throws of 20 yards. Sounds a lot like the air raid offense, a lot of short throws and then some long ones mixed in, although he is not completing those at this point. I'd be surprised. Tad Hudson finished the game. I'd be surprised if we didn't see him to start with. You just can't turn the ball over at the rate MJ Morris is. He probably has the higher ceiling. They may want him to be the guy. They also lost their San Jose State transfer. I think his name was Emmett Brown. There was reports coming out he was trending towards being the starter. He got hurt in the preseason, lost for the season. So tough road for Tim Beck. We'll try to get a better feel for them as the week goes on. We talked to some people from Conway, Myrtle Beach. Jay says Kansas State underestimated Army. Well, that's Kansas State's fault. Can never underestimate the Army. And Richard saying we should not badmouth any team on our schedule. So, look, I'm with you guys. I'm with you. I've watched too much ECU everything over the years. Any game on the road in any sport is always going to be a challenge. And I would expect Coastal to be completely up for this game on Saturday. All right, let's get our final break in. We'll hit any other comments you guys want to address. We'll also maybe touch on the NFL as well. Try to figure out what happened to Philip Pilkington's Panthers. Is the season already over? Is it time to start planning for the future once again? We'll discuss that, a whole lot more. Hoist the Colors, final segment on the way.
It's time to soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota. Summer is here with hot deals on a great selection of new Toyotas, like a Corolla, $189 a month, or Tacoma, $279 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
My hair is definitely a reflection of who I am. Wild, fun, fiery for sure.
It just goes with the flow.
Me and my hair, both untamable.
I wear it how I feel.
Feel fearless.
Feel empowered. Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Feel unstoppable. Unstoppable.
The sun is out, and so are the deals at Greenville Toyota. Soak up the savings on a hot selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $289 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
Loyal and bold, we're the purple and golds.
Yo ho ho!
And we're back to Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, final segment here. Philip Pilkington alongside us. A reaction to Monday. We are recapping ECU Campbell. We've hit it from a lot of fronts. And let's hit on, actually, I want to address this just quickly before we talk NFL. Mason has a question, random question, but do you think we will ever have the cool stadium lights in the football stadium, or at least anytime in the near future? Mason, good question, valid question. He's talking about the LED, blinking lights, all that sort of stuff. Right now, it is not on the docket because of cost, and it is just a cost-effective measure to spend more money on the player rev share right now. That's where the majority of that type of money is going. I wouldn't rule it out in the next year, 3 years, but right now it is not on the docket due to cutting some expenses, but wouldn't rule it out long term. All right, Philip Pilkington, he made the mistake. You picked the Panthers, right, to win and cover?
Unfortunately.
And that was quickly proven to be a poor decision. Now, you do a good job of separating emotion. You don't make many emotional picks with your teams, but the Panthers started the season pretty poorly, lose to the Jaguars 26-10. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought they did not block well up front. I really didn't think the defense played terrible. I think there's still some stuff left to be desired, but I didn't expect much out of this defense anyways. They kind of remind me of, I hope they're kind of what East Carolina says. You know, maybe you don't have any of the stars and the playmakers. I mean, obviously got Derek Brown up there as a nose tackle, but can you just kind of keep yourself in games? Offensively, we're just not able to run the football. I thought Chuba looked decent when he had holes, but there was a lot of penetration up A gap a lot of those times, and it was causing Bryce to be under duress a lot. It's the first time he's really been under duress. In the preseason, even though you do those joint practices, you still got the red jersey on. I thought he made 2 or 3 really bonehead throws, but I thought other than that, he did miss the one down the sidelines to Renfro. He didn't have that opportunity to step into it, and I think he put the amount on it that you normally would put when being able to step in. So he's just got to learn to put more on it when you're having to throw off your back foot. But that's, a young guy who hasn't had a lot of starts. You're okay with that. He stood in there, took some shots, and delivered catchable balls. But I just felt like overall the game wasn't terrible play in and play out, but the mistakes were just extremely costly. When you talk about there's 5, 6, 7 plays that define a football game, I think that all of those plays went Jacksonville's way and went Jacksonville's way in a heavy way. And you just didn't look good, but you got a chance to regroup, go out to Arizona next week. I don't know, maybe the ball will be a little less slippery out there in that dry desert air and 3% humidity in Glendale, but not impressed. And then honestly, 4 o'clock didn't get much better. At least Denver was, successful, but gosh, I thought that was ugly too.
It's hard to win with 4 turnovers in the NFL. Denver managed to do it mostly thanks to the Titans' ineptness. I will say Cam Ward looked pretty good overall, and I know his numbers are hideous, but outside of holding on to the ball too long on 3 or 4 occasions, he actually did a good job. His receivers and his offensive line are horrific, so I think the Titans may have something there. As for Denver, Jaquan McMillan, former Pirate, was the second highest graded player for the Broncos per Pro Football Focus, near elite status in almost every category. Covered well, had the strip sack to seal the game, so he continues to make plays, winning plays for Denver as they beat Tennessee 20-12. Man, the game last night, Baltimore seemingly just couldn't be stopped, and they made too many mistakes. Gave Josh Allen too many chances. The fumble by Derrick Henry, despite just an incredible game otherwise, gave them new life. That was just an incredible game to watch late into the night if you were able to stay up for it. We saw the Packers beat the Lions. You and Bobby were all over that. Packers-Lions. The Lions look very much not like themselves with the 2 new coordinators. Steelers-Jets. Never thought I'd say this. That was maybe the most entertaining game of the weekend outside of the Ravens-Bills game. But any other big takeaways from Week 1?
I thought we got a lot of intriguing games week 1. Normally you've got some weird games. It's really hard to pick games week 1. And where there's some, there's always toss-up contests. Congratulations to the Raiders going coast to coast. I didn't have any faith in them, even though I think they're better than New England. Just that 10 a.m. start, first game, and all that, new coach. But that game was good. The Tampa Bay Atlanta game was really good. Both Thursday and Friday night's game was good. Really a solid week 1 all around. Much better than any week 1 I can think of in recent memory.
What happened to the Dolphins?
I've heard some things that there's a lot of turmoil in the locker room.
You got some Dolphin insiders?
No, I think it's public. It sounds like he's kind of losing the locker room. I didn't think it'd be that bad, actually. I messed up and picked them. But, the Colts roster is not bad. They really haven't had a bad roster since about the time Peyton got there. They've just struggled to find a quarterback. They're good defensively. They got a good O-line. The receivers aren't the sexiest names in the world, but they got decent receivers. Jonathan Taylor. And, look, man, Danny Dimes, I think, has got this situation just, hey, go out there and play okay. Yeah, just go out there and play okay, and you'll be favored against anybody who's not a really good team. Dolphins aren't a really good team, and Indianapolis just made the plays they had to make.
All right, we did have a question from Johnny about NASCAR. I don't really understand what he's asking here, but I'm sure you do. He says, is Philip at all concerned about the 24 car surviving and advancing in Bristol? So what is this?
No, I mean, they just haven't had a lot of speed the last 2 weeks.
Oh, the 24 car. Okay,
yeah. So I wouldn't say I'm worried, just because there's so many guys who would have to pass him. He's okay at Bristol historically, not great. I mean, I'm going to be watching pretty well as much as I can while being at a wedding. So I don't know if worried is a good word. A little nervous. I mean, how are you not? Anytime you're not locked in, anything can happen. You can get taken out in somebody else's mess the first lap. So, but the tough thing is, I think guys like Barry and SVG, if they don't win the race, they're not going to jump above that cut line. So you almost have a few guys that are kind of guaranteed to be cut right now. So he should be okay. But hey, anything can happen.
Man, it goes from 0 to 100 quickly when football starts back. Obviously, NASCAR's still going on.
I was watching that yesterday, trying to watch the U.S. Open final with tennis, and the Panthers game got delayed in the Broncos game, trying to watch both those. It was ridiculous. There was just too many
MLB
sports on
playoffs
yesterday.
will be here soon. Like, there's a lot going on. It's a great time, though, man. Nothing beats it.
It's great, but gosh. It's like, can we do some of this stuff like Tuesday and Wednesday nights?
I guess that's just where MLB and Maction come in as we get deeper into the college football season. All right. We're out of time on this Monday. We are still waiting on the ECU BYU kickoff time, so hopefully that's announced here shortly. We appreciate everybody commenting. Great show, great feedback. We'll dive more into ECU football throughout the week. Tomorrow we'll take really a deep dive into the American, what to make of Army, what to make of South Florida. Are they the favorite for the college football playoff spot from the Group of 5? We'll get into all that along with ECU's chances in the American and much more. We'll see you then. 12 noon on Hoist the Colors.